Okay, guys, so we're going to talk about something called the zero product property, which we actually talked a little bit about I talked a little bit about in the last video. But I want to give you kind of a more formal explanation of this. So for zero product property, let's just start with a problem like this. So 7x equals 0. So um, this is 7 times something equals 0. So if I were to divide on both sides, my 7s would cancel. 0 divided by 7 gives me 0. Okay. If I take a look at, we have 4 times x plus 2 equals 0. I have a couple different ways I can tackle this one. Usually you guys are used to kind of distributing this. So 4x plus 8 equals 0. This gives us some good practice with reviewing solving equations also. Subtract 8 from both sides. My 8's cancel. 4x equals negative 8. Divide by 4. X equals negative 2. So if I were to check this number, negative 2 plus 2 is 0. 0 times 4 is still 0. Okay, so it just kind of gives us an idea of when you're multiplying anything by 0, you're going to get 0. And conversely, if you have 0 as an answer, you had to have multiplied something by a number to get 0. Okay, so the rule is kind of this. If A times B equals 0, then either A equals 0 or B has to equal 0. One of the two of them has to be 0 to multiply and give me 0 as an answer. Okay, so we did a similar problem in the last. Try and use just this. Sorry, I have to lighting a little bit. We did an example like this in the last video where I gave you something along the lines of this. Okay, x plus 7 times x minus 3 equals 0. And we said that in that rule that we just said, one of these two has to be 0 if the answer is 0. So we need to figure out what our possible values are for making that 0. Okay, so in this one, I would subtract 7 from both sides. X equals negative 7. I would add 3 to both sides. X equals positive 3. These are the values of x that would give me a 0. Okay, it's not just saying that x equals 0. It's what values of x would make my number 0. So for example, if I take my negative 7 and I plug it back in up here, negative 7 plus 7 is 0. If I plug in 3, 3 minus 3 is 0. Okay, so either one of those, negative 7 or positive 3, would make my answer 0. Okay, and that's kind of the key to zero product property. So let's take a look at a couple examples. So we've got 4x times x plus 9 equals 0. And again, zero product property, I'm going to keep using that word. Zero product property means I'm going to take both parts of my problem and set them equal to 0. So in this one, I just divide by 4 on both sides. X equals 0. Over here, I need to subtract 9 on both sides. X equals negative 9. Those are my two values. So x equals 0 and negative 9 to make my equation true. Okay, let's take a look at another one. 2x plus 10 times x minus 5 equals 0. Okay, so again, I've got two factors like this. I'm going to set them both equal to 0 and solve. Okay, so in this one, I'm going to subtract my 10 on both sides. 10's cancel. 2x equals negative 10. My last step is I still need to divide by 2. So in this case, I get x equals negative 5. Over here, I need to add 5 to both sides. That cancels. X equals 5. So I have two values for x, negative 5 and positive 5. Okay, one more. So I have x squared minus 9x plus 20 equals 0. Now this does not look the same way as our other ones. However, we just spent a whole learning target learning how to make this expression into factored form. So I look through my problem. This is why I told you guys before that factoring is not going anywhere. I look through my problem. I have no GCF, so I go right to my 2 sets of parentheses. So separate my x's, 1x there, 1x there. I think about my factors of 20. So I have 1 and 20, 2 and 10, 4 and 5. I'm trying to get a 9x in the middle. So of these 3 choices, it looks like 4 and 5 are probably my best bet. And then I'm going to check to see where my signs go. So I have 4x and 5x. The only way to get a negative 9 out of both of these is negative 4 and negative 5. And then I'm going to check that. So negative 4 plus negative 5, negative 9. Or you can type it in as negative 4 minus 5. Same thing. Either way, you realize that you get the same or the right number. Okay, so that means this is negative and that's negative. Now, I'm not done yet because this isn't the point of this problem. Okay, this is getting it into the right format, but now I need to solve that. So x minus 4 equals 0, x minus 5 equals 0, and then I'm going to go through that process. So I'm going to add 4 to both sides. X equals positive 4. Add 5 to both sides. X equals positive 5. Now, that process, you are not going to have to do that for every problem. You can for the ones that will factor, but you're going to learn another process that ultimately will be easier. But this is an option. Okay, if it factors, you can choose to find your factors and then still just set them equal to 0 and solve for x. Okay, so that's your zero product property.